brew. It's been a while since you've been in a video. Okay, so private tasting right now, Glenmorangie. We're going to be meeting Doctor Bill Lumsden, who is standing right beside me, actually. Say hi, Bill.
Hi, how are you doing? All right.
First off, I have one thing I want.
Yeah.
I would like to know if you would sign my 25-year-old bottle.
Sure.
So. Oh, you got the good one. No.
I'll pick up some pens, don't worry.
Awesome. Thanks, brother.
I've got a gold edition.
So this is your 10th private edition, which I'm very excited to try.
So that's what I think it was, but that was a few years ago now. That was about 5 years ago. So we've got the three whiskies, Nick. We've got the original, which you'll be very familiar with. And I say the reason I specifically wanted these kind of launch events to feature these whiskies is, first of all, the Allta and the original. That's the experiment, and they were made in pretty much the same way. One or two little differences, and I'll talk about that with the Allta. And then I wanted to feature the cad ball firstly because it was a new expression, and also in terms of flavour, I think it fitted in quite nicely. And also there's a very strong link because the wild yeast came from our cad ball farm estate. That's where I found it. So cad ball is, you know, we have nectar d'or and domestic. I can't get as many Sauterne casks as I would like, so we withdrew that from travel retail, and this is made in pretty much the same way, but it's using other sweet wine casks like Barsac and Basilliac and Muscat and things like that. And the story of Allta is, you know, I did there's three strands to it. So the first of these is that I'm a yeast physiologist by training. That's what I did my PhD thesis in. So it was inevitable that I was always going to do some experiments with yeast to see what would happen there. The second strand to that is that the yeast supply has been a horribly neglected part of the Scotch whisky production process. When I first joined the industry, went into production with DCL, Diageo, I was quite horrified to see that the pressed bagged yeast was just dumped into a big tank and then filled up with water and mixed through it. And you know, a yeast does not like that. There's an osmotic shock it gets. It's the last thing you should be doing. And these tanks are open and they're ripe for infection and all sorts. And a silly little anecdote that I did my training with DCL at Linkwood and Glenelgin distilleries. And Glenelgin distillery used to have a cat, and the cat just disappeared one day, and they filled the tank up with yeast for a week's worth of batches and then just drained it down. It's horrible practice, and when it got to the bottom, the poor cat was drowned at the bottom of the yeast tank. So that was the second thing that yeast neglected a bit in the industry. And the third thing was that I used to meet quite a few times the late great Michael Jackson, the whiskey writer. And in Michael's first World Guide to Whiskey, the big book, he talked about Glenmorangie's delicate classic Highland flavour, but he also talked about the Glenmorangie distillery having its own unique yeast strain. And that, of course, intrigued me. But try as I might, and I even worked with our company archivist, we could find no trace of that whatsoever. So I don't know if Michael maybe got the story wrong, but I thought it's so interesting that I'm going to make damn sure that we have our own unique yeast strain.
Cool.
So the experiment, I started about 15 years ago, just thinking about how I would do it. You know, do I go to one of the flavour houses or one of the yeast suppliers and say, I want a yeast that will give me X, Y, and Z in terms of flavour? And they will do that for you. That's possible. But I thought, you know, if I want a unique Glenmorangie strain, rather than just buying one in, I'd rather find a wild yeast strain there. So I was a barley buyer and a maltster, was my last job with DCL. So I know that the barley growing in the field is absolutely covered in fungus. So I thought that's a good place to start, and because we grow our own barley adjacent to the distillery and where Glenmorangie House is on our Cadball estate, hence the choice of that whisky. I thought that's a good place to start. And that's the only barley we grow ourselves, you know, that's not our core competence. So we went into the field there, got some ears of barley, swabbed it, put it onto agar plates and sent it to Lalamand, who are part of the Anchor South Africa group. It's the same company, and they cultured all the wild beasties up and isolated yeast strains that they felt were fermentative. And we eventually found one which was a Saccharomyces strain. It was a distant cousin of the one we use in the industry, and they actually cultured that up to industrial proportions. And the most beautiful part of the story was that my timing normally is not a strong point, but by the time the Cadball barley had grown, had ripened, was harvested in September, was stored for several months to break dormancy, and then was finally malted, it came into the distillery at exactly the same time as the batches of the new yeast were available. So it was actually fermented with the very yeast we swapped from it. So the circle has been beautifully squared there. The project I called Project God is Good, because the ancient Egyptians, who are widely credited with first making alcohol, you know, thousands of years ago, didn't know how their bread or cereals or whatever was converted to alcohol. It wasn't until Louis Pasteur discovered yeast. So they thought it was a magical phenomenon, a gift from the good Lord, so they said God is good. And that's actually what diamath means. It's a Gaelic word, Saccharomyces diamath, which is what we've called our strain, which we own now, and that means God is good. So it's been a wonderful project, and it's ticked so many boxes for me.
I love that.
Now, I could have filled my spirit into sherry cask, not a good idea. And there's no question that at the raw spirit, the new make spirit stage,
51.2%.
Yeah, the difference between the spirit made with the Saccharomyces diamath and our standard Glenmorangie was quite marked. But as you age longer and longer, the influence of the wood basically smooths these differences out. So the other main difference between this and the original is that that's primarily matured in refill bourbon barrels.
So is this essentially just like number 10 on steroids?
It's not number 10 on steroids. That's Astar is number 10 on steroids, but it's number 10 on crystal meth or something like that, if you like.
Yes.
So it's made the same way, but with a different yeast, slightly different barrel choice. Yeah. The American Oak X bourbon barrels, but they've been used twice already for Glenmorangie, because while I obviously wanted smoothing out, I wanted to try and maximise as much of the flavour, and it's not quite 10 years old, it's about 9.5, I think. Something like that. I had to stop it, Nick, because I was worried that I would end up losing the difference completely.
That sounds amazing.
And Allta, Scottish Gaelic word meaning wild.
Yeah.
So that is the whole story of this wonderful project.
Yeah.
So we've got the 3 whiskies and we can nose them to start off with. And I chose to bottle it at a higher strength, primarily because it was the 10th anniversary. I thought, I've done all the others at 46, so I'll give this a bit of oomph. Was it 51.6? 51.2.
Oh wow.
So get, you know, baking bread, yeasty, biscuity, cereally flavours, a lot of mint on the top notes in there.
That packs such a nice punch to it too. Wow.
Again, if you're used to working with yeast, and you know, creamed yeast, you're getting loads of that on the flavour of this. So even after 9.5 years, it really is shining through quite differently. you've got a straw there, and there's the.
Yeah.
Then if you want to add some
Let's
water
try
on
that.
it.
Open that up a bit. So what do you get when you add the water to this one? I mean, obviously you're going to get a lot more of those.
For me, it's brought out the herbal top note of the whiskey. So the menthol or eucalyptus or something like that. Gents, you guys have tried Allta?
I am not trying.
You haven't? You couldn't?
Yeah.
Come try this.
It's just
really good.
When you do it like this, you can see how different it is from the original. It's got a much more peppery mouthfeel to it. And I'm not getting so much sweet vanilla in there, but there's a kind of creaminess in there, you know, like single cream. Creamy and peppery at the same time. You know, I'm now in the aftertaste getting something that's almost making me think of eucalyptus or old-fashioned boiled sweets. You know, like mint humbugs.
But the mintiness that I'm getting from this right now is like
it's
the water is really opening that up.
So that's the reason we've got some nice mint leaves in there.
Actually, this is the flavor profile.
Yeah.
No, it's all good. It should be.
Yeah. So we've got a representation of some of the flavours here. Violet or lilac flowers, carnation, mint, mandarin orange, and then some vanilla and maybe the wild yeast will go off if you have it in there. But that's a kind of nice pictorial snapshot of some of the flavours in there.
Yeah, that's great. That does 100% that mint flavor profile.
So again, I think this will be received in the same way as To Sail was, that not everyone completely got the difference, but the hardcore whiskey geeks just absolutely loved it and completely got it. I've gone back to my Allta now, which has had a chance to open up with water, and the vanilla pods are now represented, so we're coming back to some classic Glenmorangie territory that someone's deliberately used a boiled yeast.
Well, I've never seen anybody else actually showcase
Yeah.
like that. When I was thinking about what you were going to produce with your 10th release, I was immediately like, all right, well, Bill's got barrels and barrels and barrels, and what's he going to come up with next, and what's his flavor profile going to be? So I was not expecting it to go into this.
It's a little bit of a departure.
No, it's cool, but I feel like this is a nice little transition into where your brand is heading for the future.
There's going to be a lot more whiskies coming out of Scotland where people have experimented with the yeast, but I'd like to think, as usual, we got in there first. But that was like 15 years in the planning.
It's so crazy how ahead of the game you guys are. I would love to just like get in here.
It's funny. So there we go. That is the story of Private Edition 10, and I guess we're just about on time.
Yeah.
If you get any follow-up questions, then you've got my card, ping me an email. Or better still, ping Rory an email and get him to make sure I actually answer.
This has been great. Bill, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Pleasure, Nick. Thank you for enjoying the whiskies.
Yeah, no, this was an incredible little experience here that you've just allowed me to have, so I will definitely cherish this. This is something I've wanted to do for quite a while. Rue, hello. Hates the camera.